Today on The American Land Seller, we're unpacking what it really takes to be a true land professional and why deep expertise in this space matters more than ever. With land values stiffening, generational transfers underway, and buyers demanding real answers about rural property, the role of a skilled land broker is critical. I'm joined by Lou Jewell, Accredited Land Consultant with Land Pro Real Estate and the host of Let's Talk Land, the longest-running land-focused radio and podcast show in the country. Lou is a nationally recognized land expert, educator, and mentor who has spent decades guiding agents and landowners alike. He's trained thousands of land professionals through the Realtors Land Institute and continues to shape the conversation around rural real estate with practical insight and no-nonsense advice. One thing we dig into today is the myth that any agent can sell land. In reality, according to Lou, it takes far more than a license. From soil maps to easements to land use potential, Lou helps break down what buyers and sellers really need to know. So whether you're a landowner, investor, or aspiring land agent, this episode is packed with wisdom from one of the most respected voices in the land industry.
Welcome to the American Land Seller Podcast with your host, Kobe Rickardson. Kobe is an accredited land consultant and multi-state land broker with High Point Land Company. Join us each week as we explore all things land. We bring you fresh insights and expert guests on sales, marketing, regulations, economics, and so much more. Visit www.americanlandseller.com and find us on one of your favorite podcast platforms.
Okay, Kobe and our special guests, let's get started.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the American Land Seller Podcast. We have the legend, Lou Jewell, accredited land consultant from North Carolina. Lou, how are you today?
Well, great. Great to see you.
It is great to see you, too. Just got to see not too many weeks ago in Arizona. It's always a good time to get together with all our family and friends down there and hang out, learn some new stuff. So what is new in North Carolina?
Rent and taxes. I think everybody's watching what's going on with the government change right now. And I've been through Princess Di. I've been through the World Trade Center. I've been through the year 2000. I've been through the 8 stock crashes, and it all reflects our income. And last year was a miserable year because nobody could make a decision. Yeah. I've got 5 listings sitting here on my desk from last June, and they still haven't listed.
Yeah.
Offers that I wrote that they just disappeared.
Yeah.
And it just, until the market settles down, I don't know what you guys are seeing there, but that's been my experience. And it was hot here for a couple of weeks, and then they started the new thing, and then the phones quit ringing. So
yeah,
people are very sensitive out there.
Yeah, it's. I think there's a byproduct of the environment of the deal that definitely is causing havoc for a lot of industries out there.
Interest rates, and that's still ups and downs. I mean, I locked one project in at 2%. I said, "What are you even charging me for?" I mean, yeah. I don't think we'll see that for a long time.
Yeah, we just not too long ago did an exercise where all the agents in our company called the lenders in their area, just kind of doing a pulse check with them, and we had interest rate opportunities anywhere between like low 5% all the way up to 15%, depending on your credit and your standing and
same terms.
Yeah, it's it was just crazy. It's just crazy. So,
interesting.
Yep. No, but
it pays to shop. The public out there, it pays for them to shop around.
Yeah, no, and I think that was the proof of the exercise is that it definitely pays for you to go look around. If you called the guy that his interest rate was almost 15%, you'd be a little bit depressed because you'd think the world was over. But okay, so I got you on my show now. I've done your show a couple times. I finally got you squirreled down into a seat 5 minutes so you can talk to me on my podcast. I do want to talk just a little bit about, because Let's Talk Land, the famous podcast and radio show that you do, um, it's on the Oldies channel there in North Carolina, is a long running podcast about land education, and it's had. I mean, you can go look at it at what's the website for that, Lou?
It's www.letstalkland.net. You can also
.net.
find it on Spotify and Podbean.
Yeah. And so you could go, I mean, there's everybody in the land industry and some that aren't even in the land industry on that show that you've interviewed. And so let's just talk just a second about how did that, like, where did you come up with the idea that the industry needed to have an education outlet, and how did that genius brainstorm happen?
Well, Kirby, first of all, I've been in the business for 30 years. I'm in a small community outside of Winston-Salem, between Winston-Salem and Mount Airy, North Carolina, on the Virginia border, actually just the county, the bottom of the county that joins the border. I can be on the Blue Ridge Parkway in 30 minutes. And it's a rural area. We got 4 stoplights. We got a lot of farms and a lot of land. And fortunately, when I got my license, I joined a small little company here in Pilot Mountain. And that's what they specialized in, was land and farms.
Sure.
And that's where I cut my eye teeth in. And then later, I was doing a project with the ALC. And I didn't know what an ALC was. So, remember the Realtors Land Institute, George Munford down in Winston. I had a listing. He brought a client, and we built a relationship. He says, "Why don't you get involved in RLI? We've got a class next month on subdivisions." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah, come down there and take the class." Ned Messi was teaching. And I went down. I wasn't even a member of RLI, and I took the class. And out of that, I've done over 80 rural subdivisions over the years, which is different than a traditional lot subdivision. But anyway, as time went on, I got involved in RLI, took my second course in Memphis, Tennessee, about a year later, and just fell in love with land. My family, my mother's family, we have 900 acres. That's 6 generations. So I didn't grow up on it, but I spent the summers there. Grew up in Charlotte. So I started doing some research. I'd go to these real estate conventions, and I would ask people, "Why isn't land in our code of ethics?" They said, "Well, land's under commercial." And I said, "Well, commercial's part of land, but there's a whole lot more land than commercial." And so that was one of my first observations. And then I started, the website got more sophisticated, and I started checking out websites, and I was looking for articles on land. And there were very few articles. So I started writing articles and giving them to different websites that were publishing articles. And if you go back to 2006, you'll see a lot of my articles on some of those sites in the archives. And then I went to the bookstore, Barnes & Noble at one, and I went to the real estate section. And I spent several hours there going to the index looking for the 4-letter word land. I think I found 2 books. And it referenced maybe 2 pages.
Wow.
And I said, "What's wrong with this picture?" And as time progressed, I got more involved in our chapter as president several times. And that's the Carolinas chapter. Which chapter are you in? You're in the...
I'm in the middle of Iowa and Colorado, so I belong to both of them.
Yeah, okay.
I do a little bit with both.
But, that started building relationships. And then I started a website. I got 9 of my buddies, my appraiser, my surveyor, one of my customers, and I found a company down in Winston-Salem that could build a website. So in the process, I went through every website that was promoting land, and I actually printed every page of that website, every page. It's in my filing cabinet over here, full. But anyway, Lands of American Land Watch were starting at the same time. We had the National Convention in New Orleans, and my marketing guy says, "You need to pass out buttons." So I bought 1,500 buttons and stood in the street, passed them out. I never did get rid of all of them, but it didn't work out. I signed a contract for one price, and then we had it in beta testing. I called all my buddies and told them to put their listings on there for free to get it started. And I came back, and they wanted a different arrangement, so I just abandoned it. So years later, one of my friends was was selling advertising for WKTE in King. It was started in 1962 as an AM gospel station. And the owner died and left it to his son and daughter who own it now. And so I went down and made a presentation to Rodney that you met on the show, who's the producer. And he said, "How would you like to do a show?" And I said, "I've never done a show before." He said, "Pay me $480 a month and you can do one every month." And that's where it started 9 years ago. And I think I've got over $50,000 in this show because I'm paying for GoDaddy and Spotify and Podbeam and Frisbees and balloons and koozies and, which is fine, and give back to the business. And I'm still, right now, we're meeting with my daughter and my partner. I'm trying to compel a book, my 260 current shows. But now we're talking about taking a subject and making a book out of the subject and have multiple. But and I have a real estate school, and I I realized there's no land education out there beyond RLI, and I found out through my radio show, talking and interviewing ALCs like you around the country. I think I've covered maybe 45 states, and I asked you how many hours you have in your state for CE and how many hours of classes do you have on the subject of land, and it's crickets. I think I'm the only one. So my mission now is to move this forward. I've got my 4-hour class that I teach in North Carolina. I've been doing that since 2008. It's called Introduction to Land Brokerage. I was invited by the North Carolina Board of Appraisers to write a class on land, which I wrote one. Rural land values, is it an art or science, along with my appraiser buddy. He did the appraisal part. I did the issue part. Sinkholes and all kinds of stuff. You find out what's an old barn word for appraisers. And they have no land education. It's an apprentice structure.
Yeah.
So that's my goal before I leave. I just want to promote education. I'm happy to do as much as I can in that vein. Appreciate being on your show and helping me promote.
Yeah, no, it is fascinating because, like a lot of podcasts out there, I never came at it so much from the education, more from the information and, to inform and to, kind of create a buzz about different topics and land. But you truly did come at this from the heart of educating people on land sales, on the importance of,
buyers,
and we're going to get it,
landowners.
Yeah. And we're going to get into this later on in the show, like in the second segment. I want to talk more about specialties and things like that, because you're a huge advocate for specialties. But this particular show, Let's Talk Land, was developed as an education tool to educate your local listeners and on your radio station, and then kind of nexused into like a podcast beyond that. Is that correct? Like it started out on the radio, and then you kind of.
I did a couple shows. I did the research. I hired a consultant in New Jersey on podcasts, and he recommended Spotify and Podbeam. And we never could get Apple for some reason. We just never could get it. But I just want to throw something at you that I did recently. I've never been on X. I was on Twitter a little bit, and I hadn't been on it. So I went to X, and it's got on the right-hand side, you can ask questions, okay? Just like ChatGPT.
Sure.
And I said, what are the top podcasts on the subject of land? And it mentioned several of them. And the verdict was, Let's Talk Land excels in real estate pros seeking free, deep educations. Its longevity and expert roster is unmatched. If you're a broker wanting knowledge, Let's Talk Land is at the top. So I've decided to take the excerpts from the volumes of shows and organize them into my book. So I don't have the audience, but I have the credibility.
Yeah, no, that's true. Like if you go look up land education or Google land education or land real estate education, Let's Talk Land is one of the top couple page or two. So you have done a lot of work to get your SEO to get up there. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a break. It's amazing how fast 12 minutes goes.
It's amazing how fast an hour goes.
That's right. So let's go ahead and take a break, and we will be right back. The American Land Seller podcast is brought to you in part by landhub.com. Join us today and experience the expertise of LandHub's land marketing professionals. Whether you're buying or selling, let us show you the way in the ever-evolving world of land transactions. Visit landhub.com and discover what the future of land marketing looks like. Landhub.com, where your land journey begins. All right, we're back here with Lou Jewell from, where is it? It's Mount Olive?
Pilot Mountain, North Carolina.
Olive Mountain, North
It's
Carolina.
Andy Griffin, they called it Mount Pilot. Barney's
Pilot
always
Mountain.
been down to Mount Pilot because
Pilot
Mount
Mountain.
Airy is 12 hours away, and that's where Andy Griffin was born. So everybody thinks Mayberry is Mount Airy. And by the way, I'll put a plug in for him. For the last couple of years, Mount Airy has been promoted as the #1 retirement city in the country. It's about 9,000 people, foothills of the Blue Ridge. Just good old boys and girls, good Christian. More Baptist church around here than any place in the country.
That's awesome. Mount Olive, that's like, I think, biblical there. That's like Pilot Mountain. That's what I was.
Well, it was a Cherokee Indians, and the Indian name is well, I can't remember now. That's my brain. I'll think of it in a second. But it was to look out. It's a standalone little mountain range with a top, with a breast, we call it.
Sure. Well, again, your podcast radio station, Let's Talk Land. People can find that at letstalkland.net.
Right.
And it's a great resource. It's got tons of hours.
A lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, land.
And I've learned a lot. That's the thing about education. If you're a provider, you learn as much as the class does because everybody brings. And that's what's great about RLI. And I always advocate going to the actual live classes as opposed to doing the virtual, because that's the networks. That's how we meet, and that's how we fellowship and do business.
No, I that's exactly. I have learned so much doing this podcast. Heck, we just a couple of weeks ago we had somebody on that talked about the Section 180 of the tax code, the soil tax credits that you can get off of the fertilizer in your soil.
We just talked about that on my last show.
Yeah, so it's that was pretty interesting, I thought. But anyway, so let's get into. You've been a major crusader on specialization, along with your education portion of it. You have designated basically your life has been specialized in land. Right. You don't do if any houses. I don't think you do any houses. Is that correct?
For friends.
Yeah.
I don't solicit them.
Right. And so your specialty is land. And you've been a huge advocate for Article 11, which essentially says, stay in your own lane, or, if you don't know what you don't know, don't do what you don't know. So let's talk just a little bit about, we see a lot of people get in trouble by taking on projects that are well beyond it may be inside of their scope of practice, but it is well beyond their scope of knowledge. Is that fair?
Very true.
And so I just want kind of you to talk, I want to get into that in this segment on like, how do we solve that? You and I have had conversations about my goal, we had that on your show. My goal is to do referrals. I want to pay $100,000 in referrals.
Solves the problem.
Right. And so I want those residential specialists, those commercial specialists, those guys that, property managers, all those guys, I want them to refer their land deals to me so that I can take care of their clients.
Sure.
I don't do houses. I'm like you, unless there's a lot of land with there's a house accidentally on a piece of land.
Ranch, right?
Right. And even when I have those, I partner with a residential agent, in that area to help me out with the house part of it. So I really want to hear your thoughts on how do we improve our industry? How do we kindly get people to buy into specialization and understanding that there is a difference between it being a part, inside your scope of practice is not the same thing as your scope of understanding.
If I may, I'm going to read a little bit, okay? I don't
Sure.
want to do that. But our preamble, there's 1.5 million real estate agents right now on the website, okay? And we have a preamble for our Code of Ethics, which was founded in 1913. It's the second oldest. We're self-policing. We don't go to, we have professional standards committees. And if I say something bad about you or do something that's against the code, then I can be brought before the committee. I can't take my license. Only the real estate commission can do that, but they can fine me. Okay. And, but anyway, just our preamble starts out with under all is the land.
Sure.
Upon its wise utilization and widely allocated ownership depends on the survival and growth of free institutions of our civilization. That's our industry, but our industry doesn't promote land other than the Realtors Land Institute, because about 98% of all realtors at 1.5 sell houses, and that's okay. So all the education and stuff, and we've worked hard, the Realtors Land Association, and building relationships with NAR and so on. And if I may, I want to read the Code of Ethics because this is important. It says the services of realtors provide to their clients and customers shall conform to the standards and practice of competence which are reasonably expected in the specific real estate disciplines in which they engage, specifically residential real estate brokerage, real property management, commercial and industrial real estate brokerage, land brokerage, and I'm going to come back to that in a second, real estate appraisal, real estate consulting, real estate syndication, real estate auction, and international real estate. Realtors shall, not will, they shall not undertake to provide specialized professional services concerning the type of property or service and outside their field of competence, unless they engage the assistance of one who is competent in such types of property or service, or unless the facts are fully disclosed to the client. Any person engaged to provide such assistance shall be identified to their client, and their contribution to the assignment should be set forth. Okay. When I got my license 30 years ago, we had to take the Code of Ethics course. It was a 4-hour course, and we had a test at the end of it. They don't do that now, but we had a test. You had to pass.
We still do that in Nebraska, actually.
Okay.
We still have that.
Each state's different.
Licensing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told that you won't ever have to take that course again. Now that you're a realtor, you pass the course and go on, enjoy your venture in real estate. And then somebody screwed up. I think it was in Charlotte, where a couple of builders were giving Mercedes-Benz away to the agent that sold the most houses in their development. And that was definitely against another code, not this code. And it hit the Charlotte Disturber, and then it went nationwide. Next thing you know, they had us taking the Code of Ethics, all of us, every year. And then it went to 2 years. I don't know where it is now. Well, this was in 2008, and I was taking the class down in Winston, and they came to the Code of Ethics. And I said, I keep asking people, why can't we get Code of Ethics? Well, Gloria Bowman was our executive at RLI in Chicago. And we'd been talking previously about how we can promote RLI and how we can get more people involved. And I just had a thought on the way back. And as soon as I got back, I called Gloria and I said, hey, I just took the Code of Ethics and land's not in there. How do we get land in there? She said, I don't know. I'm going to call upstairs to the attorneys and we're going to find out. So that's how it started. And then it went to our professional standards national group. And then you have state groups and you have chapter groups. And it went through 2 years of minutia. And Gloria called me. They were voting on it, whether they pass it or not, and add it to. She called me while we were doing that, and I could hear the background. And you could hear yay, yes, no, yes, no. And at the end, there was a standing ovation. Kobe, I was told by the committee, and I've been on it too, on the national committee for RLI years ago, no one's ever applauded a motion in the professional standards. But that's how I got started in 2010 in San Diego. The board of directors of NAR made it official. So you can thank me for that.
You're welcome. I mean, thank you.
But, this is part of what I do. I'm trying to help move our industry forward. And I had when I first wrote my class, I wrote about this little girl named Mary, and she just gotten a real estate license. She was at Sunday school, and Mrs. Smith owned a 500-acre farm at the intersection of Interstate 95 and Interstate 40. And her husband had died, and she didn't know what to do with the farm. She didn't have any heirs. So she said, Mary, can you help me sell this farm? Mary says, yes, of course I can. I've been a realtor for a week. So she proceeds to pull some comps. Somebody told her how to do that. Anyway, she put a price of $5,000 an acre and put a sign up, and all of a sudden she gets a full price offer cash, closed in 30 days. She was happy. Grandma was happy. Everybody was happy. And the next thing you know, you see a sign, future home of Walmart. Well, the guy bought the property for $5,000 an acre and flipped it to Walmart for $20,000 an acre. Now, did Mary do her job? So that's what this is all about. And the public, the more we put this out there to the public, and I'm going to start doing it on my radio show, refer it. We have a referral program in the United States. It's well established. You send me a referral, I send you a referral, and we negotiate a percentage, okay? I don't want to talk percentages. I don't like talking that.
No, don't do that. We'll have to cut it out.
But anyway, so the hook comes. But anyway, and I had a student years ago down in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I get a phone call from him. I hadn't talked to him in years. And he said, Lou, I've decided to retire. And he said, I got a couple listings left. They're commercial listings, commercial land. And he said, one's by the subdivision. It was phase 2, and the guy lost it, went into foreclosure. The banks owned it out in Oklahoma. There's 3 properties. So he said, I'd like to refer that to you. And I said, okay. So I started looking them up, and one was worth $1 million, one was worth $1.5 million, and one was worth $800,000. So I called one of my auctioneer buddies. I'm not licensed to auction. And I said, how would you like to co-list this with me? And he did, and he did all the work. I really didn't do anything. I didn't go down there to put the signs up. And as time went on, they did online auctions, and I received a check for $120,000 on the first one, and about $80,000. Anyway, it was a nice referral check. So I'm a believer in referrals. How are we doing on time?
We're doing great, man. We're doing great. We can take a break, and it's about that time. So we'll do that, and we'll come right back.
Land isn't just dirt. It's where memories are made, families are raised, and livelihoods are built. But when it comes time to sell or buy, the weight of the decision is heavy. Where do you even start? Who can you trust to guide you? For too long, land transactions have been treated like a simple exchange. Numbers on a paper, a signature on a line. But it's more than that. At High Point Land Company, we don't just list land. We walk it, we learn its story, and we find the right buyer who understands its worth. You are not just another deal. You are the steward of something bigger. And we're here to help you navigate every step of the way. When it's time to sell, when it's time to buy, we're here. Because land is more than just land. It's your legacy.
All right, we are back here with Lou Jewell, Accredited Land Consultant from Pilot Mountain, North Carolina. Takes me about 3 of these segments to get where you're from and who you are, Lou. So
I haven't moved.
I usually
almost 40 years.
I'm a slow learner. Lou is, if you have not caught it yet, famous for Let's Talk Land, which we believe, Lou and I have talked about it during the break, we believe that was the original land related podcast. I think he was the first one. He was a pioneer in that.
9 years ago. 9 years ago.
Yep. So I think that was the first one. You can catch that at www.letstalkland.net. So
Podbean.
yeah. He also sells real estate in his spare time. I think him and Shadow the dog. They're out selling real estate in North Carolina and Virginia, correct?
Right.
Yep, North Carolina and Virginia. So before the break, we were talking about ethics. It's like I said before, because you can doesn't mean you should. It's kind of my attitude. I don't know if I touched upon this. I kind of get a little bit, especially talking to you because you're so fascinating, Lou. Whether or not we were talking about it actually on this podcast or during the break, but we just got back from the Nebraska Real Estate Convention where our company had a booth there where we were talking to residential agents and basically just asking them to refer their clients' land needs to us and that we're going to pay referral fees, because I've mentioned it before. My goal is to pay over $100,000 in referral fees this year in 2025. And so I want, I want those referrals. And I want to give referrals. I want to give all my house referrals to the guys that do those best. So, but it really does come down to, and I think, man, I think maybe we're too nice sometimes on this, that it does come down to, it is an ethical issue.
Yeah.
That if you don't know what you're doing, you really are maybe doing some damage for folks.
Nope, you're not providing the service that you're supposed to be providing. Why would you hire somebody, need a brain surgeon, you hire a brain surgeon with experience. You don't hire an orthopedic, that maybe did some classes on brain surgery. I mean,
sure.
It's they throw a slide up. In North Carolina, you have to have 180 hours of class time to become a provisional broker. Then you have an additional 90 hours after you completed that and joined a firm and so on. You got a year to do it. And they're broken up into 30-hour classes. And in one of those classes, they throw a slide up that says, land is the most complicated of all real estate transactions. And then they ask the instructor, well, why is that? And the instructor says, well, it just is. Now let's talk about this. The only land education in North Carolina that they provide is 43,560 square feet is 1 acre. And you may see that again on the test. Okay. And that's it. This is pitiful. There's nothing in the colleges. There's nothing in the universities. There's nothing in the syllabuses in the states around the country. I mean, is land not that important? I think it's the second biggest money spent in the country is in land as opposed to houses. And I'm just tired of being treated like dirt.
That's clever. Well, and another thing, like I hear a lot too, just especially in my area from people is like I'll hear residential agents kind of smile at me and say, well, I grew up on a farm. So, and again, like I grew up on a farm too, but I can honestly tell you that I was not ready to go sell them when I got my real estate license, because that's totally different. It's a different, marketing and selling farmland, ranch land, recreational properties, development properties. Even in itself, those four segments are four completely different animals.
Schools, you've got easements. There's 11 different types in here. In our area, you've got septic systems. You've got water rights. You've got all kinds of laws. You've got all kinds of tax benefits that you can get with land, and when you go buy vacant land, you're going to pay 2 points higher than a conventional loan. If interest is 6% on a 30-year conventional loan on a home, it's going to be 8%. I don't care where you go. It's usually penalized 2% because of the risk. And there's an organization called Farms Credit. I'll give them a shout out. They were started in 1916 by the federal government because we discovered oil. Now we had farm equipment, we had fertilizers and herbicides, and farmers used to only get paid one time a year. So they founded Farmer Mac. You got Freddie Mae and so on. That's where Farmer Mac came from, 1960, okay, to underwrite the farm loans. In 1946, after the war, I wish we had the same people in Washington. They said, why are we running this organization? We need to privatize it. So they broke the United States up into areas. The generic name is Farm Credit, but here we're Ag South or Carolina Farm Credit. There's 3 farm credits in North Carolina. We have 100 counties. One has 52. But they all have the same program, okay? And They're very competitive on interest rates. When you borrow money from them, you get stock. They're co-op. So once a year, you go to their office and they have a little band and hamburgers and hot dogs, and you pick up your check, $480, your dividends. And then after 3 years in the program, they'll go back and they will rebate you up to 20% of the interest you paid 3 years earlier. That may be a check for $10,000. They're giving back. And then I just saw in North Carolina, they just gave out $36 million in their patron program. Now, once you've sold or retired the program, retired the loan, you no longer have a relationship with them. For 7 additional years, they will still come and pick up a check, anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 that they're still giving you back, thanking you for being part of their program. There's no bank in the world. And I can go look them in the eye. I can go right there and I can say, look at you. I mean, I'm not talking to somebody on the other side of the country that has no idea who you are or cares about you. So if you're interested in getting a loan on land and land farm equipment, that's the place. They also have farm insurance. It's a great program. Okay. I want to finish up with one thing. Each state, and you guys can go, I'm not sure your listening audience, how much you cover. I'm assuming you cover the whole country and possibly the world.
We do, actually.
But each state, I assume, has a general statute. They write laws. The legislation of the state writes the laws, and the real estate is appointed by the legislation. The governor appoints the board of the members. The board of directors of the commission is appointed by the governor. In North Carolina, we have real estate commission rules, General Statute 93A6A-8. Licensee's competence. Simply holding a license does not assure minimum competence to perform every type of real estate transaction, particularly specialized ones. The real estate law requires that a licensee act competently and in a manner that protects the public interest in any transaction he or she undertakes. So I'm citing all this stuff. We're talking about code of and stuff, and still we don't get any attention. We're sitting at the back of the bus, and it's up to us, you and me and others, to put the word out. And I think the more us that do it, I mean, a buyer or a seller should do their research, not just pick the person in the Sunday school class because they just got their license. It's more to it, even in residential, property management, commercial. You call me up and tell me you want to sell the Empire State Building, I'm going to refer it. I have no idea where to start.
Right.
Or I've got 45 houses that I own. I want somebody to manage the property management. Not me, buddy. And then, like we talked about homes, I'll refer them.
Well, I think not only to that point, but I think like the industry itself, I think all of us need to take a look and figure out if you're going to be a professional. I think we have an opportunity right now with these generations that are coming up who really do lean on professionals. You know, like Generation X, I like to laugh about. My generation's kind of like the DIY generation.
Right.
You know, like we can do everything on our own, you know, which is why we have like some of the crappiest remodels in the country, you know, like in houses, and, you know, like, you know, residential agents know what I'm talking about. It, you know, like you walk in and be like, oh, great job, you know, on your shiplap or whatever. But I think that the next, like the Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen Z, all these, they really are looking for somebody that they can trust, you know, and I think that we have a great opportunity to become those professionals and to quit whining and actually start taking that mantle and be the professional. Yeah. And I think in order to do that, I think you're absolutely right, Lou. You have to take this more seriously. You know, and again, I go back to just because you can doesn't mean you should,
Right.
You know, and I like the fact that North Carolina has that actual rule in there.
Probably do too.
You know, and we have something similar, but you know, I don't know that anybody knows how to turn somebody in, and, you know, like it's a lot of trouble to do it. even if you do know how to do it, that's usually the issue is it's a lot of trouble to do it. But we have to, as an industry, start figuring out how to take this seriously, because I think, like there was a real fear there for a while that the professional organizations, the insurance agents, the realtors, all this stuff, we were all going to go by the way of the interweb,
Right.
and that we were going to get replaced by chatbots and websites. And what I see is that, like just the younger people really want a person they can sit and look at. They really are putting their phones down more than people are giving them credit for.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them really do want that professional that can guide them, but you also have to act like that professional that's going to guide them, And so I love the content that like that you've brought today, bringing up the ethical, the ethical part of the referral, and it's just, to me, I think, like I said, I think this is going to be unique to see how things happen. But I will tell you that from our experiment going to the residential agents,
it's interesting.
We were received very well. And again, the only thing I can say is I did talk to a few people that were like, well, I grew up on a farm, so I know. To which, we had those conversations on, do you know, though, like there's, I lived in a house, so does that mean I know how to sell a house? Like it's not the same, right? There's so many different things. There's, and like from who do they call for financing to who insures, what, to if they're looking to do a development, who's the developers that might be interested. It's a great point. So it's been really good. You had something else you wanted to share here before we go.
This is a nice gift. Years ago, after that, in that 2008 period, 2008, 6, I would come to the office off hours, and I'd do research. If I had a computer when I was a kid, I'd be Einstein now. It's crazy, the stuff you can find. And I wanted to write a book, not to publish it. I wanted to write a book for myself. And I wrote one. And I went through my experience with my grandfather and our farm, the family farm, and what I'd learned and how to do a subdivision. And it was just, I was trying to take all my thoughts about land brokerage and put it in one place that I authored, that I created. Okay. And then I'd look for deficiencies. Where did I need to do something? What else did I need to learn? Who else did I need to meet? But one of the things in my research I found was an anonymous saying called "Who Am I?" which happened to be the title of my book. And if you don't mind, I'm going to read again, but this really nails it all. And this is a wonderful gift to get somebody. It says, I am the basis of all wealth, the heritage of the wise, the thrifty, and the prudent. I am the poor person's joy and comfort, the rich person's prize, the right hand of capital, the solid partner of thousands of successful people. I am the solace of the widow. I am the comfort of the old age. I am the cornerstone of security against misfortune and want. I am handed down through generations as a possession of great wealth. I am the choice of fruit and labor, safest collateral, and yet I am humble. I stand before every person, bidding them to know me for what I am and asking me to possess me. I am quietly growing in value through countless days. Though I might seem dormant, my worth increases, never failing, never ceasing. Time is my aid, and ever-increasing populations adds to my gain. I defy fire and the elements, and they cannot destroy me. My possessors learn to believe in me. Invariably, they become envied by those who have passed me by. While all other things wither and decay, I alone survive. The centuries find me younger and always increasing in strength. All oral and mineral rights come to me. I am the producer of food, building materials, and the home to every living thing. I serve as the foundation for homes, factories, banks, and stores. I have not been produced in millions of years. I am so common that thousands unthinkingly, unknowingly pass me by. That's land. I'll send it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
But,
Lou, how can the folks get a hold of you if they are in North Carolina or Virginia looking to buy or sell some land?
My company, which I own, website is My Land Pro. Who's your land pro? MyLandPro.com. And my phone number is 336-669-1405. And it's been a great privilege and pleasure to be with you today. This is a great show, and I wish you much success, and I'll help you any way I can. Let's get the word out there, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate you being on. Like I said, I've been a huge fan. I started listening to you when I first got in to the industry, so I think I am not sure I've listened to every episode, but I know through Spotify, I know I have listened to a solid 90% of them.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, and so yep, you were the first one I found out there and started listening to it, and I appreciate it. It's I can tell you that after doing this for a couple years, and I've only got, I think this is the 36th episode.
Hey, buddy.
We don't put them out quite as efficiently as you do. I had changed companies last year. It took some time off, but we're back at it, and it's fun to talk to people, and I appreciate your time today.
I appreciate you, buddy. All the best to you. And let's do some referrals.
Yeah, absolutely.
That solves a lot of problems.
That's
exactly. By the way, one last website.
Yeah.
If you're buying or selling land or farms, go to www.rliland.com and find a member of our organization. There's over 2,000 of us. On an ALC, there's over 750 of us. That's in your area. They will make you more money if you're selling, and they will save you more money if you're buying, because we know how to play the game. So listen to what I'm saying. This is my best advice.
Yep. There's honestly, there's a good chance that if you go to that website and go to find a land specialist, or find a land specialist, I think is what it is, that it's somebody that is friends with Lou and I. So
we're a big family.
There's an 80% chance that one of those people are going to be friends with us. So
get together once a year.
Yes, sir. So, well, again, appreciate your time today, and we will see you all down the road.
As we wrap up another episode of the American Land Seller Podcast, thank you for joining us. Visit www.americanlandseller.com and find us on one of your favorite podcast platforms. If you would be so kind and you enjoyed today's insights, please like, subscribe, rate, follow, and review us on whatever app you are listening or watching on. Connect with us on social media for updates. Until next week, Kobe wishes you success in your land endeavors. God bless you, and have a great week.
The American Land Seller is brought to you in part by LandHub.com. Are you in the market for the perfect piece of land? Look no further than LandHub.com, your solution to the biggest challenges facing land buyers and sellers today. At LandHub, we're revolutionizing land transactions by effectively connecting buyers and sellers. Say goodbye to the struggle of finding or marketing land for sale. We understand the power of new media marketing, leveraging social media and targeted ads to bring together the ideal audience for all property types. Join us today and experience the expertise of LandHub's land marketing professionals. Whether you're buying or selling, let us show you the way in the ever-evolving world of land transactions. Visit landhub.com and discover what the future of land marketing looks like. Landhub.com, where your land journey begins. And High Point Land Company. When it comes to buying and selling land, High Point Land Company sets the standard for excellence across the Midwest and beyond. Our expert land specialists bring unmatched market knowledge and a personal touch to every single transaction. Whether it's a farm, ranch, recreational, or even investment property, we provide the expertise and integrity you can trust. Looking to buy or sell? We offer a premier selection of properties and a marketing strategy designed to get you results. From productive farmland to recreational retreats, we help you maximize your investment. Visit www.highpointlandcompany.com today and experience the difference. High Point Land Company, a true leader in land sales.